ho, ho, ho. Santa's come to town, and I thought it would be fun to read a couple of fun books with you. So if you all enjoy a good book, I'm going to read one. This particular one is If I Were a Bear. Ho, ho, ho. Sometimes I feel as big as a bear. But this is a book about bears. If I could be anything, you know what I'd be? A big brawny bear sprawled in a spruce tree. If I could be a black bear, asleep in the shade, with a belly full of berries in a rainforest glade. Or maybe a rare blue bear in a world full of ice. I'd blend right into my glacier paradise. What about a Kermode, a black bear that's born white? They fish during the day while the black bears fish at night. Or a silver-tipped grizzly with my paws in the air, warm in the sun, a breeze tickling in my hair. If I were a bear cub, I'd take naps beneath a willow, on a blanket of the tundra, with a wildflower pillow. I could be a Kodiak bear, living by the sea. I'd feed on sockeye salmon, which are the best to me. From my paws to claws, from the fur to the skin, bears are built to keep the heat in. If I were a polar bear, my eyes would be small. My feet would be furry, and I'd have almost no tail at all. If I were a bear, the wilderness is where I'd be. Mountains, oceans, or forests, they all sound just right to me. That's if I were a bear. I found a very fun book that I think we're all going to enjoy because this is Santa is Coming to Minnesota. Ho, ho, ho. I go all over the world, but they have a book about coming to Minnesota. Let's see what it says in there. Santa is coming to Minnesota. All right. Oh, there's a few pages about that. Well, boomed Santa, have all the children from Minnesota been good this year? Well, mostly, answered the little elf as he bustled across the busy workshop to Santa's desk. Santa peered down at the elf from behind the tall, teetering piles of letters that all the children of Minnesota had sent him. Mostly? Asked Santa, looking over the top of his glasses. Well, yes, but they've all been especially good in the last few days, said the elf. Ho, ho, jolly good, chuckled Santa. Then we better get their presents all loaded up. Even though the sack of presents was really, really big, and all the elves were really, really small, they all seemed to have no trouble loading it onto Santa's sleigh. Though how they managed to fit in such a big sack into one little sleigh, even they didn't know. But somehow they did. Splendid, boomed Santa. We're ready to go. Not quite, Santa, said one little old elf. One of our reindeer is missing. Oh no, what could that be? Missing? Which reindeer is missing, said Santa. The youngest one, Santa, said the elf. But it's his first flight tonight, and I've called him, but just then the reindeer strolled up, munching a large carrot. Where have you been? Asked Santa. The youngest reindeer was crunching so loudly, it was no wonder he hadn't heard the little old elf calling. Oh, well, never mind, said Santa, giving the reindeer a little wink. He took out his Santa nav and tapped in the coordinates for Minnesota. Will guide us to Minnesota in no time. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Boy, with a flick of the reins and a jerk on the harness of the race, off, they raced through the sky. Ho, 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 said Santa. We'll soon have the presents delivered to the land of 10,000 lakes. Santa flew high through the starry night, heading south and across the Hudson Bay, and on they flew to the wintry air over the Boundary Waters. And in the wink of the eye, the sleigh was flying above the Iron Range and on to the Twin Cities, where the youngest reindeer was very excited. He had never been that far away from the North Pole before. There they're going. They had just crossed over Breezy Point when suddenly they ran into a blizzard and snowflakes were whirling around the sleigh. They couldn't see a thing. The youngest reindeer was getting a bit worried, but Santa didn't seem too concerned. It's in 2 miles, the Santa nav in a bossy lady's voice. Keep left at the next star. But ma'am, Santa blustered, I can't even see any of the stars through all of the snow. And soon they were hopelessly lost. Oh no. Then, through the howling blizzard, the youngest reindeer heard a faint ringing sound. Ding dong. He looked over at the reindeer, the red nose, but his head was down. Oh, I wonder the red nose. I wonder who that could have been. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. There were sounds again, like church bells ringing. And the youngest reindeer turned around to look at Santa, but Santa wasn't listening. He seemed to be arguing with that little box with buttons on it. With a flick of the harness and a jerk of the reins, the youngest reindeer gave a sharp tug and headed off towards the sound of the ringing bells, pulling Santa and his sleigh behind him. Whoa, cried Santa, pulling on his hat tight. What's going on? And then, to his surprise, he heard the ringing sound. Well done, young reindeer, he shouted cheerfully. That must be the bells of St. Paul's Cathedral. Don't worry, children, Santa's coming. Then suddenly, crunch! The sleigh hit something as it plummeted through the snow clouds. You have arrived, said Santa Nav unhelpfully. Finally, when the snow had died down and the clouds had parted, Santa discovered exactly where they were. Can you guess? Stuck right at the very top of the Minnesota State Capitol. Oh, everybody, pull! And the reindeer pulled with all of their might until at last they heard a screeching sound as the sleigh scraped clear of the dome and Santa steered them safely past the Minnesota Historical Center, above, and the Minnesota Children's Hospital, over the Mississippi River, and down into Minnehaha Park. Lucky there was no real damage done. The packages had all been jumbled up, and Santa quickly sorted them all out and back in the presents in order again. All right, said Santa. This is all the young reindeer. I know where we are now. Don't worry. Santa is coming! And look at all the reindeer, and Santa's getting all the presents back together again. Santa drove his sleigh expertly from rooftop to rooftop all over Minnesota, popping in and out of the chimneys as fast as he could go. There were big chimneys in Bloomington and small chimneys in St. Cloud. He squeezed down chimneys in Minneapolis and plummeted down fat chimneys in Richfield. The young reindeer was amazed at how quickly they went. Santa never seemed to get tired at all, and it looked like the children in Minnesota were going to be very lucky this year. But the youngest reindeer was starting to feel a bit weary and quite hungry too. In a house after house Santa delivered, inside his sack were packages of every shape and every size. He piled them under the Christmas trees and carefully filled up the stockings with surprises. And in house after house, the good children of Minnesota had left out a plate of cookies, a small glass of milk, and a great big crunchy carrot. Santa took a little bite out of each cookie and a tiny sip of milk. He wiped his beard and he popped the carrot into the sack. From Winona to Roseau County, from Duluth to Moorhead, from Carver County to Rochester, and all over the places in between, Santa and his sleigh visited every house in Minnesota. Santa delivered presents to Andrew and Allison and Anna and Arabella and Archie and Ashley, and the list went on and on and on to Zach and Zara and Zeb and Zoe and Zybil. Oh, look at, there's Babe the Blue Ox, and there's even the big lumberjack man himself. Finally, Santa had delivered the last present on the long Minnesota list. Great moons and stars, sighed Santa. It must be past midnight, and my sack seems heavy as ever. I hope I haven't forgotten anyone. Santa opened his sack to check, but it was full of carrots. Oh, do you remember all the carrots Santa was in the houses? He collected them all. Santa divided the carrots amongst all of the reindeer. Well done, he said, patting the youngest reindeer gently on his nose. But the youngest reindeer didn't hear him. He was too busy munching. When it was time to set off for home, Santa reset his Santa nav for the North Pole, and soon they were speeding over the Stone Arch Bridge across Minneapolis and St. Paul and over the lakes through the crisp, starry night. Ho, 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 laughed Santa. Merry Christmas, Minnesota. Santa got to go to all the places in Minnesota, which means he also got to go to will get to go to your house. And that's coming up soon. So I better get back to the North Pole, make sure the elves have everything ready to go so that we're ready for Christmas Eve at your house. Make sure that you're being good, thinking good, and being very kind to everyone around you. Because that's really what Christmas is all about. Being kind. Santa gives out presents. Santa wants you to give out presents, even if that present is a good attitude and being kind to your neighbors. So you all be very good, and Santa will see you soon. Ho, 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 ho!